Hello, hello, hello. This is AJT500 slash Talented Track 98 slash Heloise Wonderboy slash Hilo. And in this video, we're going to be talking about light. I am having kind of some issues thinking of how I want to title these now, because I did do this for Fire. I did it like a pre-Guild War video, like a talking video, but in that one I was really focused on Primal, and that's mostly what this video is going to be focused on as well. But I do kind of want these videos to be like a look at the element right before Guild War, because that's usually when the element has like everything. But I'm not going to be Primal in every Ellie, so like when we get to Wind and Water again, I don't think I'm going to be Primal on those Ellies by then. So what I'm getting at is I'm very particular about how I make my titles on things. So I want them to be consistent. And the one with Fire, I said like talking about or rambling about Fire Primal. So I think in this one I'm just gonna say like rambling about like light in general. And I'm just gonna talk about, obviously I'm gonna talk about like light in general, but I'm mostly gonna be talking, you know, what I know. So like for me, I don't really know Magna Light with M3 that well, because I haven't really been farming M3. I haven't farmed M3 like at all. So I can show you my my current weapons. My current weapons are it's not even under Omega. Oh, or Omega Rebirth. Okay. Yeah. I've only been doing my daily hosts of these, so yeah. Yeah, I'm not really focused on Magna. I've been mostly farming bricks. That is pretty much the only thing I'm really doing on this game right now. So yeah, pretty much these videos are gonna come before each Guild War, but it's gonna be mostly talking about just kind of updates to the game that have affected that Ellie and where I'm coming from when it comes to that Ellie. So yeah, I wanted to preface that before I got too started. Now the other thing that I do want to bring up is this might be kind of sad news, but I think this may be one of the only videos that I do for a very long time. I just don't think I'm gonna really have enough time to do YouTube and stuff anymore. It kind of sucks. I'm just getting really overwhelmed in terms of real life stuff, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to do like a ton of videos anymore. And some of even these Guild War videos may get skipped, depending on what's going on. And I can't really think of any more lies anymore, so just April Fools. I can't think of anything else to ramble about for that. Anyway, that's a joke. I'm still gonna be doing videos at my own pace whenever I feel like talking about something. I wanted to get just a little April Fool's thing in there. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna talk about light in this. I'm gonna just go through some of the stuff that I have to talk about. So I'm gonna start off by talking about weapons, and then we're gonna talk about characters a little bit. So first of all, when it comes to weapons, I kind of want to go through some of the grands in light and talk about how useful they may potentially be. So let's actually go in here and we'll swap this to grand. So first of all, let's talk about Exaltos, right? So Exaltos, I have, you know, if you guys have been watching the videos as of late, pretty much since New Year's with Zeta, because that's the first time I really got to start touching Exalto, you have known that I have been an advocate for like 3 of these, right, as opposed to 2. I have been able to use a lot of fire and light in the last, like, you know, 2-3 months. And I've gotten to use them in a variety of content in that time frame. And for me, I'm still an advocate for 3. I still think 3 is very important. I won't go too in depth because I've gone in depth in multiple videos about these weapons. But for me, The thing that's big about 3 is the fact that to hit your 280 keys on the for the FAW keys, or if you're using Revens, the big thing is if you're only using 2 with the new upgraded primals, single-sided, if you're only using 2 of the Exaltos, you need to have the Primarch in your party at all times, and you need to have a max dragon summon in your party, right? If you go to 3, as long as you're, you know, single-sided, your primal is still at the 170%, you have the option with 3 to drop either the Primarch or the 6 dragon in your party, which can be useful in certain situations. I'm not sure how much that's going to play into Guild War per se, but just in general, that's how I feel when it comes to 2 versus 3. Now, I will say there have been a lot of instances where I have been using 2 as opposed to 3 just because of lack of space, and there are just sometimes there are better weapons to slot in, and sometimes you do actually want to go double primal instead of single-sided, and I feel like once you go double primal, there's not really a use to go use 3. I feel like either you go single-sided with 3 to 2, or you go double-sided with just 2. I feel like that's kind of the best, because once you go double-sided, you start getting those effects anyway, and you kind of don't really need, you don't really need, like you get access to your key right off the bat, so you don't really need too many of these. You're mostly going in for, instead of this skill, then you're going in for this skill, and I guess kind of this skill, right? So that's kind of my thought process, is when you're double primal, go to 2. When you're single, you can go 2, but 3 may be optimal, depending on the situation. I also feel that way for high level stuff as well, if you have the space. I feel like a lot of people have put out videos and stuff where they're only using 2 in high level stuff when they could have been using 3. Like, I look at these grids and I'm like, that weapon that you're using as the last weapon could have just been a 3rd ES, and you could have, because another thing too is when you do that, you allow your summons, because a lot of people will bring Sandalphon in high level stuff, which is fine, but you could rearrange your summons in a way where you can do a better summon setup if you took 3, by dropping your dragon, or, you know, and using different stuff like that. And I feel like another thing too is a lot of people will end up doing or double-sided when they could have done single-sided, and it would have again made their summon setup better. Where, like, for example, people will use like double Zeus when they could have used Zeus and pretty much they'll use double Zeus, and then they'll have Lucifer in their sub summons, where instead they could have, if they had 3 EFS, they could have done single-sided Zeus and Lucifer, and then they could have taken Lucifer out of the sub summon slots and then used a better sub summon. You see what I'm saying? So they could have just rearranged their summons better in a lot of these setups. So even in high level stuff, I still think 3 is good potentially, depending on what the situation is. So yeah, that's my spiel on Exaltos for right now in light. I don't want to go too in-depth in it, because again, I've gone in-depth before, but I want to kind of round up some thoughts for this, right? So let's go back to the grands and let's look at some other grands. Now, a big grand, and people have asked me a lot of questions about these, the Resonator weapons, and Imperious Fury in particular. I've told multiple people about how Imperious Fury is weird. It's a weird weapon because its requirements are weird. Its requirements is boost to light allies, attack, defense, and damage cap based on their max HP. So this is a lot looser of a requirement than as opposed to something like Galleon Staff, where Galleon Staff, you need 3 of the exact same weapon in order to trigger that staff, or even like Percival Sword, where you need 4 of the exact same weapon type to activate that. You see what I'm saying? But this, you can mix and match this weapon a lot easier because there is not as heavy of a requirement, and depending on where your HP is, having less of these, or having more or less of these matters less, because your HP may not be like getting up to that cap anyway. Now, besides that, resonator weapons, I feel like I'm almost kind of starting to see die in real time. Now, I know in the fire videos, I know that I said that 3 was still useful, but it was kind of dropping. Like a lot of setups were starting to use 2, and 3 was more of like a super tanky build type build, right? I feel like that has gone even further in that direction through the further pace of the game. Because there is less and less space. Even in extra grids, there is less and less space, and there are more and more useful weapons popping up to devour the resonator weapons, at least in terms of 3. I think pretty much once an Ellie starts to get Exalta weapons, 3 drops off really hard. I think another big thing that hit resonator weapons is the celestial weapons. People take celestial weapons for a lot of stuff, and celestial weapons will give you that attack, defense, and HP that you wanted from these, right? So now you're losing out on the attack and defense and the damage cap from this, but I think people are kind of okay losing that 7% damage cap, special damage cap, if they lose a third one of these. So I'm very hesitant to say you need 3 of these. I would say for the most part you only really need 2 resonators at the moment outside of Earth, if your Ellie has Exalto. So that's a lot of stuff. If your Ellie has Exalto, I think you stop needing 3 as much. I still think there is a case to be used for 3. I think 3 can be useful in certain scenarios, but I think for the general populace, it's gonna start directioning towards 2 or less. Now, Imperious Fury in general, when it comes to light, I think 1 is still very popular, even as opposed to 2. Just because of its requirements, like the way the HP requirements work, and just that there's not a lot of space. Like I'll show you one grid that I have. Oh, I'm already on it. So this one, right? This is just a normal. This is what I use for Osiris and Fediel. And it's like, okay, if I took out an EFS here, right, I could put a Luofist here. I think actually, see, and this maybe I should look at this one, because this one actually has a Luofist. So like right here, right, it's like I already have one Luofist here, and I already have my Celestial here. If I took out one EFS, I could put in a Luofist, but I could also put in a Nihon Harp. You know, I could put in a second Noah Dagger. I could put in what else? One of the World Amp Harps. You know, there's just not a lot of space for these once you get Exalto. And even in I'll go look at like a fire party, right? This is a fire party. Another thing too is if you have like any main hand that is not, obviously it's playing into your grid, but it's not like the standard like PNS, Resonator, Exalto type weapons. If you're using a main hand that's like out of the norm, so like Fire has the Exo Dagger, Fire has Finny Weapon, you know, stuff like that, Earth has Hunting, things like that, you have even less space, right? You have less space to use a second resonator, or sorry, a third resonator weapon. You can use a second one like how I have in Fire, but a third one is kind of I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the resonator weapons. And even in Fire, one thing I'll talk about this weapon next actually, but one thing Fire is kind of different than Light, because Fire I feel like uses resonator weapons even more so than Light does, because I feel like Light uses Nihon Harp a lot still, because light does a lot of skill damage even in just regular full auto stuff. So Nihon Harp is still, considering this weapon and 2 of this weapon, is still actively fighting for a spot in light. It's like you don't really have a lot of space a lot of times for resonator weapons. So yeah, I'm starting to lean more towards you only really need 2 once your Ellie gets Exalto. Me personally, I'm, you know, the completionist when it comes to this crap, I guess. Freaking, I'm still probably gonna bar 3. Like when I go dark, I'm planning to bar 3 EF or ESs in that Ellie, just to have it. But I don't know how useful it's actually gonna be anymore. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about resonators, at least in light and kind of in general. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about it next. So this weapon, this is still actively used. This is still actively used. I know this is used a lot. This is like, we use this a lot in like Fa, because not only are we using people like Cosmos and Horus and stuff like that, but we're also using it for the triple attack rate, for the triple attack triggers, but also just the skill damage is very nice in an Ellie like light. There are a lot of like auto nukers in light, even in something like full auto, like this party, right? You have Makara, who's throwing out skill damage twice every turn, assuming she has her buff. MC on Mana Diver, you know, throwing out skill damage. Kumbira is throwing out skill damage with her, you know, all her skills, especially like her S4 plus her counters. Mugen, if he gets hit, she can counter is skill damage. You know, all that stuff is skill damage. You also have characters like Christmas Ilna, who are also throwing out skill damage. I mean, heck, even Geisenberger's S1 is skill damage. You know, it's just like there's a lot of skill damage that's still actively meta in light, so these weapons still see a lot of use, as opposed to something like fire, where you still do use skill damage, but people use it a bit less. So yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of all I have to say about this weapon. It's just actively still used, and I would expect to still see this weapon, you know, in Guild War. Let's look at the rest of the grands. PNS is still here. Harmonia is still here. It's PNS. It's going to be here, in my opinion, for still a bit. Just because of the supplemental, I feel like at this point they kind of have to make a weapon that is just PNS 2 in order to knock out PNS, just because supplemental is so strong, plus the damage cap that it provides. PNS is just still really good. Edens are kind of question mark. There's not really a lot of space for them. They may see use because of the multi-attack awakening, but at the same time we are in the Ellie that uses like Neon and Mugen, so Neon gives you like guaranteed triple. You also have like Artemis that you use a lot when it comes to summons, so yeah, I don't really know about Eden. Eo's weapon, kinda, I mean, you use it for the awakening, but there's kind of like not a lot of space for this weapon either. So I don't know. Maybe it gets used. Noah Dagger is still very used. Noah Dagger kind of got saved even more by the fact that it gives this big crit that goes with EFS. So this can help you get to like 100% crit. Also just the extra HP. And it's just a really good main hand for Mana Diver, which is still one of the best jobs in the game. So yeah, at least one of them is used a lot for main hand. Sometimes you will use 2. I think 3 is kind of dead at this point. I don't think that running, because that's another thing. Well, I don't really know if that 100% crit build with three Noah daggers is better than what you could do with an EFS type setup. Yeah, I don't think it's really that great. I think 3 is kind of dead. I think 2 is like max that you go on this now. So I think that's kind of it for the grands. At least the relevant ones that I'm going to talk about. Now, one thing that I do want to bring up when it comes to weapons is the Opus. This will be the first Guild War that has Phase 0 opuses and keys and such like that. My key is still on this one with the normal attack damage cap and or normal attack damage amp and like just this key, right? This key. I still think this key is probably just the best general use one in my opinion. I just think it's better. I really do. The only time that this could really be worse is if you're using like a team that literally Ogies like every turn. Then maybe the Ogie one, but I haven't seen the Ogie one really be used. I have seen some people use for Ogie comps, especially in light. They've used like the skill damage one, especially with like Cosmos and Horus running around. But I'm not really inclined to change my key, to be honest. So I'm just sticking with this unless I see a setup that really needs me to change it. That's mostly what I'm sticking with. Plus this one gives the multi-attack rate, which is always just good. Having that extra 25% TA and double attack is just really nice. But yeah, so we'll be seeing opuses run rampant. Opuses will have these keys, and they will have this amp now. Plus they'll be level 25 now. So yeah, this could make kind of a difference. The opuses. So yeah, I think that might be it for like weapons. Now I do want to touch on summons a bit. Now, one big thing is obviously the fact that we've gotten the Optimus summons. The Optimus summons have now been, uncapped even more. They have the higher aura, and they also have sub auras. Now, I actually want to talk about sub auras a little bit because someone had brought this up, and I'm going to bring up their comment. Mr. the Josh Kins had brought this up on. I put out in our Karim video for all the I don't even know what they're called. The three tier dudes in our Karim. The ones that have like the 3 slots. I put up something for that, and I had Dogu in my backline, right, for the crest, because essentially that setup, I can show you that setup actually. Let me see. I will show you. I think it's here. Yes, here. So I had Dogu in this setup, right? Because this setup. Maybe I should go to Sandbox so I can show you. Actually, I don't even know if my keys are still the same, or my books. Maybe they are. Let me look. Let me see. Okay, if this will load. Okay, so I was looking at this dude because this dude has like the most HP, right? This guy. So, and this is what I meant by like the three level dudes. So on this guy, I had put up a video that it was using this setup, and it was using these, right? It was using these books, and essentially I was using Ingenuity book that gives me a crest that not only allows MC to use Ouroboros at this, without doing anything, because they'll get one crest from this, but I was using Dogu in the back line. Because Dogu, all these crest summons will give you, boost to your. I'm gonna bring up this, right? I'm gonna bring up this. They will give you, bonuses, light damage, or elemental damage attack up based on how many crests you have, right? But essentially what his comment had told me was that he was looking at the Dogu versus the new primal uncaps as sub summons, and he had pretty much said that pretty much what he had got out, and what I had deduced after reading his comment, is the fact that if you have lower than 3 crests, then the new sub auras, I actually didn't realize that these sub auras were specifically elemental, are right here, elemental attack, as opposed to just normal attack. I thought they were just normal attack, not elemental. So this and these are kind of the same thing. So if you were below, assuming you have 4-star crest summon, if you are below 3 crests, you technically get more from this, because this is 20% boost stagnant, and this only gets up to 21% once you hit 3, right? So if you're dealing with a fast mana diver setup, or if you're dealing with a setup that does not use crest at all, and you have an extra sub summon slot, these can actually be pretty good, because it's like using a crest summon without the need to have all the crests, right? So that's pretty good. So I did want to note that about summons. Now the one thing about this though, is that this kind of only matters. This kind of only matters in things where you're going to use a main summon of 000 Bubs. I guess if you specifically need Bahamut or Lucifer as your quick summons, so Bubs 000, Yatima, and then specifically Lucifer and Bahamut need to be your quick summons. That's the only time that this will be relevant, because otherwise, if you're doing single-sided, you're gonna want to just main this summon, because you want this 30% boost to light attack that you won't be able to get from a friend summon. So if you're doing single-sided, and you're not using one of the summons that I listed before, you're going to want to main this summon instead of using it as your friend summon. And if you're going double-sided, well, you're going double-sided, so you're going to have this anyway, right? So that's kind of the only place that this is relevant, is, like I said, if you're using 000, Bubs, Yatima, or specifically want Bahamut or Lucifer to be your quick summon, and your one of your sides. So you're going single-sided and you specifically want that summon to be your main summon, or sorry, your quick summon during the fight. Those are like the only times where this Zeus being, unless you have multiple. I mean, if you have multiple, then I guess you could put another one here, but that's really the only time that that's going to be relevant, right? So yeah, that's kind of it for Zeus. I don't know if there's really anything else to talk about in terms of summons. Yeah, there's not really anything else to talk about in terms of summons. It's kind of just your standard stuff after that. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about characters now. Okay, so of course I did think of one thing like right after that. So again, like I mentioned at the start with EFS, depending on if you want to go, if you're only going with 2 EFS, the other summon that is really important is still Luo, because if you don't have maxed out Luo, you cannot go with 2 EFS single-sided. Again, I've said this in multiple videos, so I'm not going to talk too much on it. But yeah. So, okay, let's talk about characters. So, what type of characters are we expecting to see in Guild War? One that I'm going to get off the table right now, and this kind of came up with Fire as well, where I made this video before the last character was released, but Lucifer, or Lucio, is getting his FLB in 3 days. So he may be used, probably will be used in Guild War. I don't know if he's going to be, based on his kit, I don't really know if he's going to turn into like a bursty character, or if he's going to be just a full auto character. I'm really not sure what they plan to do with him, but I guess we'll see. We'll see soon. So I'll just get him out of the way. What other characters? I'm looking at him right now, so I'm going to talk on him. Mugen is going to be big. Mugen is going to be big. I talked about this in my Anti-Tix video. Mugen is like, he's so freaking stupid, dude. He's really good for just burst in general. And what I mean by burst in general is whether you're doing manual or even full auto. The fact that this dude can literally just not die, he can still buff your team at the start, and he can, not die, and he counters when he gets hit, especially in a Guild War scenario where, Guild War bosses usually hit like everybody, so he's probably going to get hit anyway. The dude's going to be throwing out nukes a lot. So Mugen, very much expect to see this Sheikah character in something, right? So yeah, Mugen's very Sheikah good. Makara, I think Makara could be used still. Makara is still very nice just because Makara, this buff is really strong. I talked about it with hunting many times, but the ability to just attack twice every turn is really strong. Also, she can swap this out to somebody else after 5 turns, and even if she gets hit in like a Guild War scenario, as long as she gets hit like twice, well, if she gets hit like twice, she's gonna reuse this skill before she uses this skill. So the character that's coming in is gonna get the skill at 2 stacks regardless, as long as she's not dead. You know, as long as Makara doesn't die before she can swap out, right? So someone else is gonna be able to get this buff as well. So even for full auto, this character is still probably gonna be pretty nice. Assuming you can fit her in. Assuming you can fit her in, she's probably still gonna be very nice. Florence, Florence is kind of weird. Florence is still very much in the burst comp. It depends. It very much depends how the comps shake out. I could still see her being used with the Nihon and Mugen comp. I know a friend of mine, Arya, was talking about. He was going through, and we were working together on one of the Ura setups he was using, and on one of those Ura setups, it still used Florence. So it might be good. I know a lot of people picked up Excalibur for her, plus Relic Buster in general for something like Guild War could still be good. So Florence may see play. If you're not bursting though, she's still pretty useless. I'll be real about that. She's still pretty useless. If you're just doing full auto, she's not gonna get used. She's not a full auto character. She is burst. Luo, maybe. I don't know. I don't know about Luo. Yeah, I don't know about Luo. Maybe though. Christmas Illnot. Christmas Illnot is good. Christmas Illnot is good. Christmas Illnot also has this, the remove one buff, and it will activate twice after she gets 7 heavenly pieces, which isn't too hard to get. And this, her Ogi resets this. So Christmas Illnot will probably be used a lot, especially in full auto, because not only does she do a lot of damage, she also has this veil, which is nice, but she has this delay and, you know, dispel, which we all know is really good on Guild War type stuff. And on Guild War, you kind of usually lend more to Ogiing as opposed to just auto attacking, unless you're bursting. So for full auto, I still see this character being pretty used. I feel like she'll be used. She's a pretty good full auto character in general, and she lends herself to a Guild War environment quite well. Sandolphin's a new character. Sandolphin, I don't know if he'll really be used. I know when I first sparked him with Aku and Onikane, we were talking about how he maybe get used in Guild War. But the thing about it that I didn't really realize at the time is that he does need both of his. He needs this buff and he needs this buff to get his flurry, right? And this is gonna take too long. This is gonna take too long. So unless you're using him in full auto, which I don't really know if you will, he's not really gonna. I doubt he's really gonna be used in burst, because he's not gonna have all his damage for a while. It's gonna take him a hot minute, and I don't think you can even like quill in this. So yeah, I don't know about saying. I mean, he's gonna still be like backline core just for his passive, but I don't really know if he's gonna be used for bursting per se. I think there's just better options for that. Even if you use like unconventional burst characters, I don't think he's really gonna get used. While I'm on this page, let's look at Cosmos. Cosmos could be used in the same sense as Christmas Illnot, where she does have the double dispel on this move, right? If she Ogies, she has the double dispel on this, which could be nice, especially if you're doing an Ogi comp. And the thing, I know I told people before that Cosmos probably wouldn't be used in Guild War, and I'm kind of still leaning towards that, but I am starting to see the more possibilities for it, mostly because there have been a lot of, I'll even show you for what I use for Belial, or not Belial, Bub's full auto, right? A setup like this for Bub's full auto, and I guess this is kind of a place where Sandalphon could be used, but still kind of sketch. But this was a setup I used for Bub's full auto, and in this setup, this is like a very, you Ogi pretty much like every turn, or like almost every turn with this setup with Horus, and also Summer Cyril. I don't know how to say his name. Yeah. But pretty much if you have like Ogi comps, maybe Cosmos could be used more. But I feel like Christmas Illnot is probably going to take that spot more than Cosmos. I could be wrong, but maybe. Yeah, but even, and this is also a spot where Makara comes in, because Makara can, she can come in, do her stuff, and then give her buff to Cosmos and make Cosmos just kind of a monster. So maybe you see a setup like this for full auto in Guild War. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe. But Cosmos could be used. She's not going to be used in Burst, but maybe for like full auto if you can do like an Ogi comp. Here, I just talked about him. Summer Ceruel. He also goes kind of in that Ogi comp as well. So you may see him for full auto type setups as well. Another big one, the really big one, Horus. Horus is run a rampage on Taking Light. She is really, really good. I definitely expect to see this character in some regard for full auto stuff this Guild War. She is very strong. She gives a lot of debuffs. She gives a lot of debuffs with this move. She Ogis a lot. She'll activate. She'll double activate Ogi, and I think she activates like this move on Taking Ogi, right? Let me see. I don't know where it is. Maybe she doesn't. Am I capping? Oh no, there it is. Okay, yeah, there. So yeah, she'll double Ogi, and then she activates this move on Ogi. So yeah, just a ridiculous amount of debuffs, right? So yeah, she's really good. Also, there's 100% boost to fade, or not faded chain, to all allies. Everyone gets 100% charge bar with this. Now the one thing about this though, the one thing that does kind of suck about Horus for stuff like this is she is kind of more lended to V2 type stuff as opposed to normal stuff, which is what Guild War is going to be. But I still think she may be used. She will probably still be used for full auto type stuff. But maybe not. Maybe not because of the no V2. But we'll see. We'll see. She's a very strong character though, so if she gets used, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. Let me look at what other characters. Oh, Kumbira. Kumbira, still a very big mainstay ever since her uncap. She's very good. She can tank and withstand lethal damage. She does a lot of skill damage with these two moves and this move. Another thing that I noticed with Kumbira the other day, actually, while I was full autoing, is Kumbira does actually still have this crit rate buff, which can also play into EFS, which is crit rate. So that is also good, and she has the supplemental on it too. So yeah, she can help you a lot with damage as well. So Kumbira will probably still be used in full auto as well. I would expect to see her. Let's see, Nihon I talked about a bit before. Nihon is still, him and Mugen are still like premier burst. Yeah, if you're bursting, you're probably going to be using this character in Mugen. The third one is kind of the other option. But yeah, those two characters are very good. Let's see who else. Light Lunalu, actually. Don't be surprised if you see her. Since she got, I can't remember if she got like a change. I can't remember what it was. Like a rebalance or something. I don't remember. But this move is mad good. This is good. This is good, and she makes it so she can't die. Like this, during any turn a skill was used, deal triple attacks, substitute effect, dodge all attacks from foes. So she's a good character to kind of like burst for a bit and then just die. Yeah, Luna Lu could actually see some use. I wouldn't be like too surprised if I saw that character in some setups. Light Aglavale, maybe, but there's kind of better setups nowadays, or better characters nowadays. For him, I do see Yukata Naru. People have been using Yukata Naru and Valentine's Faustiva a lot for when they're doing Ogi related stuff. Because Yukata Narmaya has this passive right here, even when she's in the back line, and Faustiva. Oh, network error. Okay. Faustiva has this, where she'll activate this move for everyone from the back line as well. So I like Faustiva more than Naru if I had to pick. So my backline is more inclined to be like Faustiva and like Sandolphin as opposed to Faustiva and Naru, but that's just me. So I mean, maybe if people do like Ogi comps, you may see her in backline stuff. I'm trying to think. Borger could see use. I know a very popular setup for some light bursts. For like I know for like Dread Barrage, or like if you do like an event that has like dark enemies, you may use this type of setup where you use like I may have it actually. I think I still have it somewhere. Let me see. No, not that one. This one. So yeah, it's like a setup like this, where you use like Ura, and oh god, this grid is kind of like all over the place. But you use like a setup like this, right? Where you use like Ura Luchador, and you use Nihon Mugen, and then a dark character, and then you essentially use Yatima main, and you death them plus Artemis, and Geisenberger comes out, and then you burst with like Nihon Mugen Geisenberger, because Geisenberger, if you do have his S4, he does still have this attack twice plus this, and he can tank for you as well, which is also kind of nice for potentially like a Guild War scenario. So Geisenberger may see use as well as like a burst unit. Unironically, because this setup is kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie, the setup is kind of nice for like it's good for like stuff that has like a decent amount of HP to it. Yeah. So this setup might unironically you may see a setup like that as well. For Guild War. Urias, I forgot to mention him earlier. Urias could also be used in Full Auto. This character is not too bad. He has this as well, which is also Dispel, which is nice. Plus he debuffs every turn, and he has this, which is just healing and damage, which is good. So yeah, and he activates that at the end of turn too. So yeah, that character could be used. I think I skipped a page. Let me make sure there's Vera. That's who else I want to talk about. Vera has been very good for Guild War full autos in the past, because she does a lot of dispels, she does a lot of damage, and she has, you know, Aegis Merge still, so she can tank a lot of damage. She also does like a lot of CA. She's just very good as well for full auto. So Vera could still also be used. There are a lot of characters that could be used, unironically, for light. It might be an interesting Guild War. What I was going to say on this page is on April 4th, as well as Lucio, these two are also going to get their rebalances, Funfun and Song. I know like a few years back, Funfun was used for a Guild War. I don't know, maybe with her changes, maybe she gets used. If they make like any of her green skills like yellow, then she may have more usefulness, maybe potentially. Song, if her debuffs can be useful, or she does like a ton of skill damage or something, she could be useful, especially with Makara. If you give her like even more dodge ability plus, you know, double attacks and stuff like that, she could be really good. So we'll see on the two Eternals. This is actually a really good Guild War for these, because we'll be able to see both both Eternals if they're useful after the rebalance. So yeah, may see those characters. Light Fairy, I know some people use this character for burst. Also Utsusemi, I don't have Utsusemi, so I can't really talk on her, but you may see her, Fairy, and Utsusemi in burst type setups as well. I know some people, I think some people kind of use these characters as like a surrogate for that Ura Geisenberger setup. So you may see setups like that when it comes to characters as well. I think that's kind of it though. I think that's kind of it for characters. So I'm just trying to think, is there anything else I want to talk about? I guess I didn't talk about Ura that much. Ura you could probably see. Assuming luchadors use Ura will probably be used in some capacity. Ura is very strong. I expect to see for manual type stuff, it's probably going to be either Relic Buster or Ura. Those will probably be like the two big ones. And Mana Diver. You'll probably still see Mana Diver too. But yeah, I expect to see Ura at least a bit when it comes to manual stuff. Not too sure about like full auto. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for this video. I don't think there's really anything else to talk about. So I think I did do this for Fire as well. I am going to make a follow-up video after Guild War, kind of going through my specific setups that I use for stuff and how just the Guild War played out, and then that'll be a good look back to see what was actually used. I'm gonna use Game With, I think it's called Game With. It's either Game With or Comic Games. They always put out like a tier list type thing, so I'll make another tier list of like stuff that I use personally for this Guild War afterwards, and just how useful stuff was. So that'll be another fun video. I like doing that for Fire. So, but I think that's it for this video. I kind of talked about everything I want to talk about. So yeah. Hopefully this Guild War goes well. There will be one less celestial weapon to farm this time, because there's only going to be a Dark Fist as opposed to 2 weapons like last Guild War. So in this one, hopefully I can actually play the freaking game instead of only spamming 90. I think I'm going to try and get my celestial out of the way during like preliminaries. I'm going to try really hard to get it during that, but the drop rates or whatever, so I don't know how easy that's actually going to be, but I would like to do that as opposed to having to farm it during the round. I would like to actually play the game and actually do like Nightmare 200 when I can do Nightmare 200 as opposed to spamming Nightmare 90 for 90% of the Shrieking event. So yeah, but yeah, so this one, hopefully, I said it with Taking Fire, but hopefully this one will actually be a fun Guild War, because I am Primo and Light as well, so I'll be going pretty hard on this one as well. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one. I might put up some setup videos for this. It just depends on if there are people that make stuff faster and I just copy them. I don't like to take people's stuff, so if they have it, then I'll just save it for this was the setup I used, and then I'll credit them in that final video that I do. So yeah, we'll see about regular showcase videos for stuff, but do expect the tier lists and general Guild War thought video at the end. So yeah, I'm rambling for real. That's the end. That's all I got. So I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support as always, and bye bye. Okay, I knew I was gonna forget something. I knew I forgot something. This weapon, Concordia. I could see this being used, but I'm gonna be real. I did not farm this weapon. I did not farm this weapon because I am decked out in light, and I did this crap for cheeking. Where's Revan? For Mugen, I got all this crap for Mugen, and I used none of it. So this time I just didn't even bother, especially because my dark right now is still kind of sheeking trash. So I just didn't bother farming these out. I think they could still be used, especially like the attack awakening ones, especially if you don't have like everything Primal has to offer. But me personally, I didn't really see a use of these. yeah, I didn't really see a use. So I wanted to mention those real quick. But they might still be nice, but nah, I ain't really feeling it personally, and I wasn't gonna waste my time on Cosmos with it. So yeah, no, I'll pass on those. But yeah, so I wanted to mention those real quick because I knew there was something else I wanted to talk about. But yeah, I think that's it for real. So bye bye. Jesus, dude, taking short double addendum. Okay, you also may see John used and stuff because she has this unique echo on people's triple attacks, so she may get used for low button stuff. Yeah, she may be used in people's like OTKs and stuff too. That's all I got. I forget stuff, bro. I forget stuff. All right, bye.